How's it going, everybody? Welcome back for another Emerald City Hockey post-game live. RJ, the curse is broken. The Kraken have won on the second half of a back-to-back for the first time in, I think, roughly 10,000 games. I think that was like the approximate of how long it's been.
Yeah, 10,000 games, 658 days. Who's counting, Dylan? I certainly haven't been paying attention. But yes, the Kraken break the back-to-back curse. Finally, they also break the alleged Tuesday post-game live curse that I'm still not sure ever existed, but it certainly doesn't at this point anymore. So good to just lump those two together.
Yeah, definitely. As we kick off Emerald City Hockey post-game live, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. And hey, if you're watching this right now, maybe you're just at the Torrent game, maybe you're just hanging around Seattle Center, head down to Queen Anne Beer Hall, get yourself a $5 smash burger because that amazing deal applies after all the Torrent games as well. Torrent's just picked up a win as well this evening. But yes, the Kraken, RJ, they get the win in the back-to-back. They break that curse. They get over that hump. They go into the break with a lot of momentum as they sweep their way through California.
Yeah, I mean, California has been very kind to the Kraken. They have their last 4 wins against California teams. It's been over a month since they beat a non-California team. They just seem to have these teams numbered. They get lucky in these games as well as, have some good plays. It just feels like everything goes their way, whether it's in California or in Seattle against a California team. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Does it have something to do with us? I mean, we are in California right now. I don't know. I can't put the pieces together here. I don't know why.
I was gonna say we've been in California for all these games. I don't know. Maybe California is just it's great for the Kraken, and I can't wait for everybody to tell us how great California is when we're back up there in Seattle.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely.
This is gonna do it, right?
Yeah, famously loves California up in Seattle.
Maybe it is in fact the 5. Just saying. I'm not gonna look at the bottom of chat now. But yeah, great game from the Kings in this one. Jordan Eberle kicking things off. We'll get to the chat in just a second, but Jordan Eberle kicking things off with the power play goal in this one. The power play, RJ and Jordan Eberle, both things that are just seeming to score at will right now for the Kraken.
Yeah, the power play is clicking. I think they've got 9 goals, power play goals in their last 9 games. The power play starts 1 for 1. And really, I think it's the difference in this game. We talked about like the formula for the Kraken playing Lane Lambert hockey. A big part of that is winning the special teams battle. And a power play goal can, and it probably was the difference tonight, especially getting them on the board early where the Kings had to chase the game for as long as they did. The Kings are not built to chase hockey games and play from behind. So that really helps. I mean, I want to give the power play some credit for that one. I think it's really a bust by the Kings PK as they leave Jordan Eberle wide open with all the time and space in the world net front. But to Eberle's credit, he makes no mistake. He puts it up over Copley's shoulder. Is exactly what he should do when the other team messes up like that.
Yeah, I feel like that for me is the story for at least the offensive side of things for the Kraken in this one was the Kings made mistakes defensively and goaltending wise, and the Kraken capitalized on those. And that's one of the things that it felt like during that rough patch where the Kraken just could not get any wins. It felt like that was one of the reasons why. Other teams could make mistakes, and the Kraken, whether they were unlucky or they just weren't able to really put themselves in a position to take advantage of them, they weren't taking advantage of other teams' mistakes. They were not capitalizing on those opportunities. They weren't scoring on odd man rush situations. They weren't getting lucky with the rebounds. All of those different things feels like, at least on this California swing, when the Sharks make a mistake, when the Ducks made a mistake yesterday, when the Kings made multiple mistakes tonight, the Kraken were there and able to not just get like a high quality chance out of it, but actually finish on those chances. And it felt like that's kind of been the thing that's helping make the difference, getting them back in the win column.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big difference from when they were losing. I mean, it's sometimes, and Dylan, this is a general theme here. And I wasn't sure like when I wanted to get into this in the post game, but it's something because we had the mailbag on the last podcast. I haven't really had a lot of time to talk about in depth, but this is like something that's even been observed by the coach, Lane Lambert, right? It feels like the results the Kraken get and how well they play doesn't really line up. And so, they take advantage of mistakes, the 2-on-1. I mean, credit there. It's off a King's stick kind of coming across, the mistake from Phoenix Copley, I guess, take advantage of that one. But it does feel like so much of this is just down to, do you get the bounces or not? But I feel like that's kind of by design. Like the whole
Mhm.
point of the Lane Lambert system is to take skill out of the equation completely. And which helps is certainly if you're missing Brandon Montour, if you're missing Vince Dunn, if you're down all the players, if you're missing Jaden Schwartz, Jared McCann, I could go
Yeah.
on. It kind of helps to just take skill out of the equation and leave it up to the bounces.
It does. It does. I mean, we've talked about that all year long. The coin flip analogy, which we don't need to repeat for the millionth time, that is just feels like the vibes that the Kraken kind of have to go with to win games, and they've won 3 in a row now, and that's fantastic. Looking here at chat, got a couple super chats here. Thank you very much, everybody, for the super chats. First one from Mason. Can't think of a question besides the one on Melanson I already put in chat. Just wanted to wish you two happy holidays. Well, happy holidays right back at you, Mason. And then looking at Mason's question about Melanson in chat, what do we do with Melanson when everyone is healthy? He's making it quite hard to send him back down, RJ.
Well, I mean, I think once you get players like, say, Jared McCann or Jaden Schwartz healthy, obviously they're going to slot into the lineup. Melanson isn't going to slot in over them. I think what it should be is maybe he stays in the lineup, or it's kind of a rotation with Ty Karche, who they do similar things. What I imagine will happen is he'll just be sent back down to the Firebirds. I mean, this team kind of has a clear veteran preference, and he's only up because they have guys out. Even though I think he's been impressive, I still don't think they trust him enough to play him over vets once they get the other guys back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's ultimately what we end up seeing happen with him. I will say, having him in the lineup feels like it's woken Ty Cartier up a little bit, doesn't it? Feels like Ty Cartier is starting to play with a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more physicality. We certainly saw that yesterday in Anaheim with what he did in that game. Kind of feels like that coincided with Melanson coming in, stepping into the lineup, and bringing his own version of that. I think ultimately Ty Cartier probably fits what Lane Lambert wants to do a little bit better, and certainly is the more experienced player. And so I think he'll kind of get the edge there. But I think it does mean if at some point later on in the season, Ty Cartier starts to dip, right, that energy and that physicality kind of leaves his game, which it has happened in the past. He's gone through stretches where he has not played that way. I think a Melanson call up or something like that could be used to either get Ty Cartier going again, or just to put Melanson in and let him put in that work in this Kraken lineup. But I don't think it's a coincidence that I've been noticing Ty Cartier a lot more since Jacob Melanson's gotten into the lineup.
And I think also the effect of having the two of them both in together on the same line, as Invader says, Melanson is Kart's Bash brother. It does feel like they feed off each other's energy a little bit.
Yeah, they do. And look, next year we might see that kind of full time, just with depending on how free agency goes and how many vets end up leaving the lineup, or even later on this season if the Kraken are aggressive at the trade deadline when it comes to selling off vets on those expiring contracts. Might be Melanson goes back down to CV for the next little bit, but come mid-March, he could be back up in the lineup and doing what he's doing so far here. Comic Binge with the next super chat here. Thank you very much, Comic Binge. Win streak, also that Kylo saber. Yes, it is right back there. I'd turn it on for you, Comic Binge, but I took the battery out long ago because otherwise it would be a mess inside there, leaving it for 8 months at a time while I'm out of town. But appreciate the super chat there and the keen eyes, of course.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think your background is outdoing mine just a little bit tonight.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. When you first loaded on, I did say blink if you're okay.
Although I think our respective backgrounds tonight kind of match our personalities.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit. I wasn't gonna say it. Schultz with the next super chat here.
I know you were thinking it. Sorry, it's delayed Schultz here, but I know you were thinking it.
Yep. Back-to-back curses broken. Need to break third jersey curse. Merry Christmas to you both. Big 26 coming for the Kraken. Botterill big swing coming soon. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas back at you, Schultz there. Third jersey curse is the last curse remaining now. But you know what? Now the Kraken don't have to deal with all these various curses hanging over their head. I imagine that's difficult to deal with when you're trying to break a curse. Everybody's kind of sending their energy in different directions. You've only got one now, right? So would it shock me if they won their next game in the 3rd jersey? No.
When is it?
It's a good question. I should have waited to see who they're playing first.
I'm curious about this.
Waiting for you to tell me Colorado or something.
Okay. It's Vancouver. December 29th against Vancouver.
Let's go.
I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling good about that.
I feel good. That's also a post-game live day.
Oh, is it? You're right.
That's the post-game live game. So let's go. All right. I'm really fired up for that one now. And then your thoughts on Schultz thinking that Botterill's going to take a big swing here soon?
Look, I'll believe it when I see it. The Kraken have been talking about taking a big swing for almost 3 years now. Francis is all. I think Botterill is much more likely to do it than Ron Francis ever was. Francis was never going to, but yeah, I think it's something they like the idea of. I don't think they would ever really pony up enough to actually like make the big swing. But maybe it's telling that, say, Jared McCann has been in trade rumors recently. I think David Pagnotta was talking about it yesterday about how McCann is still a guy they might be willing to move. And I don't think if they do that it's a trade for just futures or to break things down. I think they would be going after a bigger piece, or at least somebody who they feel could be a difference maker coming back if they were to move him. So maybe there is something to that. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
I was going to say, I think it depends on how the team does over the next little bit. I think this 3-game win streak helps a lot. You're back over NHL 500. I think that's a big thing for them. My guess is you probably wait into July a little bit and kind of see where you're at, how the team's going. This is obviously a very streaky team this season. If they go into January and things start going okay, maybe you see that big swing happen then. If not, and things kind of stay this way, I think you see them sell at the deadline and you see the big swing next summer. But I do agree, like a big swing is coming. It's just a matter of if it's going to happen in season or if they're going to wait for, say, the draft or something around that time.
And Sean asking what kind of big swing could they even do right now? There's not a whole lot out there. I wouldn't think.
That's partly why I think off season might be more likely, just because they're, everybody might be in more of a position to talk about stuff like that. The OTLs for everybody around the league have definitely made it like an interesting situation as far as who's even considering making certain types of moves like that. John Manelli Kings cleanser of Kraken curses. RJ, I said it all week leading up to this one. The Kraken play fantastic in crypto.com arena. They just do each and every time. It's not always a clean game, and generally it is close, right? Even when they score 9, it's a 1-goal game. But the Kraken just seem to always get things done when they're playing in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, and hanging on to a lead late too. I'm not totally surprised by that. Watching the Kings, I don't know how they've managed to score a goal at all this season, playing like that. To be honest, like, okay, Mahura kind of gifts them their first one, so I'll maybe not even give him too much credit for that. Great play by Kuzmenko on the second, but man, the amount of low quality shots they just spam at the net. How do they ever score? They don't really. They're like second lowest in the league, but still, it's just incredible to me.
I was going to say, it's them and the Kraken at the bottom of the league in goals for. So, like, they don't really score. They score kind of for the same reasons the Kraken do. You just kind of get lucky, right? If you throw the puck at the net 30 times during a game, at some point, someone along the way will make a mistake and you get one. That does very much seem to be the Kings' strategy. It's one of those things where it does make me appreciate what Lane Lambert's doing watching this LA Kings team, because Lane Lambert, at least it feels like there is like kind of a total team strategy where, yes, it's very defensively focused, but we're going to absorb, counterpunch, and try to get those aggressive pushes up the ice. The Kings don't even try that. Like, I don't know what Hiller's like real team strategy is at 5-on-5 other than hopefully Kopitar and Kempe does something great for us.
Yeah, it's just dreadful to watch too. Look, I thought the Kraken were boring. This is another level. The Kings, like they never try to push anything really. I don't know how you watch 82 games of that.
I mean, I don't. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Hey, well, and we know some of our Kings fan friends down here have already checked out. So
they have. Their team's been in a playoff position basically all year, and they're still not paying attention. So that tells you a lot. B with the back-to-back curse broken at long last. It's been so long. Literally could not tell you the last time they've done it. I couldn't either. I know you've been keeping track of this forever because you've been waiting. You've had the graphics saved
I
for
have, and I keep adjusting
almost
the number of days as they
yes.
lose the next game.
I was gonna say you're so good at tracking a calendar for that, RJ. Where's that for everything else?
You know, I'm only a very specific kind of organized,
It
Dylan.
is. Yes, very much. But yeah, no, it has been a long time. Again, it could not go on forever. It had to end at some point. But I think like look, they did it kind of their way, right? They outworked another team. They looked like they had the good energy tonight, and again, they were playing in a building that they just always seem to find a way to step up and really take advantage of what the other team lacks doing, which is generally also a theme in these LA games.
Yeah, for sure. I still can't believe it. It's been going March 5th, 2024, Dylan.
God.
March 5th, 2024.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Just like straight up, not even like calendar shenanigans, like no, that's just like legit almost 2 years. It's crazy. Invader, I'm just so happy for Dylan and RJ. We get a post-game win. Appreciate the support there. I too am very
Makes
happy
our job a lot easier.
I too am happy that we get the post-game win. That is for sure. So many comments in here about all of the curses. Appreciate all of them. We have talked about it, so I'm going to kind of move on a little bit here. We got one here from Young Swervo. Very happy for Myers. Our birds have been on fire lately. I mean, we talked about Jacob Melanson already a little bit during this one, RJ, and what he's been able to bring during this last handful of games. But get Ben Myers as well, who's done an excellent job kind of stepping up, being the 4C when the Kraken have needed him at various points throughout this season. And he also picks up a goal in this one. Again, assisted along the way by a sprawling Kings defender. But Ben Myers, he's not always going to get on the scoreboard, but every time we watch him play, I know both of us appreciate all the little things that he does.
Yeah, and we talked about it since his first call up. He is the perfect fit for this team and this system. For as much as this team is really not built to play any kind of particular way, we've talked about the lack of coordination on the roster overall compared to styles of play. Ben Myers is a perfect fit for the way this team wants to play. I mean, you've mentioned how the team kind of spams the same 3 or 4 plays all the time. Myers is just perfectly suited for all of those plays that they keep spamming. And you saw it on that 2-on-1 rush, being in the right position, helping with the breakouts, moving the puck out of the zone. Just a perfect fit for the system. And I mean, I do love to see that, especially with players further down the lineup. It shows that the scouts and the people who are making those signings that you probably don't pay attention to after July 1st or whenever they happen, but when they can help your team, it can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Jamin, Kraken casually sweep California road trip as we all expected. I look, the Sharks were just like the Kraken. Any day now, they're supposed to kind of fall apart. They're the team, as much as we talk about the Kings in actual goals for being down there at the bottom of the league with the Seattle Kraken. When you look at the analytics side of things, it's the Sharks that are down there with the Kraken as far as expected goals and expected goal share. And so I do think at some point things had to fall apart for the Sharks. Kraken able to go in and take advantage of, I think, that in that game in San Jose. You can obviously speak to it a lot better, RJ. You were at that game, but certainly based on how San Jose has responded post that Kraken game, including tonight getting destroyed by Vegas, it does feel like, yeah, they're going to start coming back down to earth here.
Yeah, the defense and goaltending is a major issue for San Jose. And I thought it was pretty illuminating talking with some of the writers there up in the press box. And a few of them came by to be wanted to just chat about everything. But it seemed like they were, pretty strongly felt that the Sharks were not as good as what their record had said. And they were pretty solidly not a playoff team. And I mean, of course, the advanced numbers show that, any day now they'd come back to earth, but I think we are seeing that start to happen. They just have some glaring holes on the roster that they haven't addressed. It's the reason that no one really picked them to make the playoffs to start the season, but there's massive weaknesses all over the West. I mean, taking a look at the big picture, the Kraken are back in a playoff spot by points percentage. Right now, they are one game above 500. The line is like 83 points to make the playoffs. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, every team all around the West, and the Kings too. I mean, they're still in a playoff spot by points percentage. We saw how weak they look today. Just there is a bunch of mid or below mid teams. Somebody has to rise to the top of the pack.
Yeah, like again, somebody has to make the playoffs at the end of the day. Like eight teams from the Western Conference will go to the postseason. That we know for sure will happen. It is kind of crazy that as rough a patch as the Kraken have had, 3 games, and you're like right back in it. Like it is kind of crazy. It was hard to. And, earlier on, I was trying to keep that in mind and trying to put that out there. It was really hard given how, like, just bad that period of time was for the Kraken. But yeah, again, this Western Conference wildcard race, like it feels like there is no like appropriate analogy for just how bad it is, right? Or at least how uninspired all of these teams feel.
Well, it's because it's historically bad. In the era where there are loser points and OTLs and no ties, there has never been a playoff team as bad as like the Kraken right now would be projected to be and still make the playoffs. It is historically bad.
Yeah, it is
There's
unprecedented.
no precedent.
Yeah. So, you know what? Go for it, Kraken. And, we're right back on that train, right, RJ?
I don't know what to think. Don't get me started with the big picture stuff. I mean, I tweeted during this game, the Kraken are going to make the playoffs as an 84-point team, aren't they? Which I think would be disastrous long term, but we could all have fun in the meantime, I guess.
Got it. Yeah. Got to think of the health of the post games. It would be
win every Tuesday, and we'll see where that gets us.
I still think all the time about how much fun we had during that postseason run. I would not say no to another one. JTB Hockey with the super chat. Appreciate the super chat. JTB Hockey, feels good to have a winning streak before the holidays. Do we believe the Kraken still make a run for Jordan Kyrou? Happy holidays, Kraken family. Happy holidays right back at you, JTB Hockey. RJ, obviously that was the big rumor at the draft this year, was that the Kraken were potentially, it sounds like, fairly close to making a trade for Jordan Kyrou from St. Louis. It seemed like at various points of the season in St. Louis, Jordan Kyrou might be on the move. He's been healthy scratched at least once out there. Do we think the Kraken would still be involved in looking for him? Like, is that potentially the big swing that Jason Botterill could be taking?
Maybe the reason that he was so involved in rumors last offseason too was a lot of it was before his trade protection kicked in, and so that Kyrou would have no say in where he went, and so that would open up a lot of options for the Blues. That trade protection has since kicked in, so it does make it a little more complicated potentially for a deal. But I think the biggest impediment to it is just that the Blues are still, like, the Kraken are still technically in it. The Blues are still technically in it. They're one of 10 teams that I think are all kind of trying to desperately ignore the truth and what they need to do because they have a shot at this playoff race. So I just don't know if the Blues would move them at this point and kind of signal that, yeah, it's over when they're technically still in it. That would be the biggest reason that it wouldn't happen, I think.
Somebody will blink. Like, we do know that. Like, somebody along the way will blink. Where's Nashville? I think they still feel like the team most likely to do that. However,
they're at 500. They're like right there, actually. They're among the top of that pack.
They are.
They beat Minnesota tonight.
Kind of crazy. Yeah, no, Nashville's been kind of doing that lately. Like, it's finally starting to click. I know it sounds like, I think, based on what we've kind of seen from there, they would have made a move by now if Ryan O'Reilly wanted it, right? Like, every report we get out of there is that Ryan O'Reilly wants to stay put in Nashville and see how things shake out still. I think that means they have definitely approached him. And my guess is because they have gotten offers that they think were good enough to potentially make a move there. So we will see. Do love seeing all the love for the Torrent in chat and their victory this evening as well. Invader California Team Merchants. That's just what we are. That's just what the Kraken are, RJ.
Over the last 5 weeks, yeah. It's been true. Only wins over California teams.
It's true. We got a super chat here from Becca. Win every Tuesday. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, ECH community. Right back at you, and we really appreciate the super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Becca. Love seeing all the Merry Christmas, the Happy Holidays in here. As it is that season, I still doesn't like weirdly feel like it yet because there's still games going on. I think with the next couple days off in the calendar, then it'll finally start to feel like it. Also, Happy Festivus, Festivus Miracle
Yep.
with the
Yep.
curses. As I think Tim Booth replied to our thing on Twitter saying it's a Festivus miracle with all the the streaks being broken. So I like seeing that.
Yes, yes. We do have a couple comments here about Mason Marchment. Got one from Bob, got one from Striatic. Bob's here. Marchment gets traded and we start winning again. Coincidence? Yeah, probably. And Striatic, can you talk about how Mason Marchment is doing in Columbus? Should you? So Mason Marchment did leave. Now, you did say when the trade happened, RJ, your trade reaction, and then you repeated it yesterday on the deep dive, that it could be an addition by subtraction type move for the Seattle Kraken. And yes, Mason Marchment has 3 goals in 2 games with Columbus, but the Kraken are undefeated without him.
Yeah, I stand by it. And I think it is addition by subtraction for the Kraken. I think the players that have come into the lineup in Marchment's place have done better than Marchment would have. And now that doesn't mean he's not having success in Columbus. He certainly is, and he's a much better fit there. And so I think this trade, as J-Man's saying here, it's classic win-win. I think for this trade, look, for the Kraken, it's addition by subtraction. For the Blue Jackets, it's addition by addition.
Yes,
works. That's how that's math works somehow, right?
Math, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Multiply 2 negative numbers, you get a positive number. This stuff works like that. And then Sean, funny how they get rid of a guy that was brought in to supposedly help the dressing room, and boom, 3-game winning streak.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I don't think he was hurting the dressing room, but the antics, I think, really did actually have a negative effect on the team. I don't think him and his personality as a human hurt the dressing room, but the stuff he did on the ice, I'll say stuff instead of a less kind word, he did on the ice, I think did start to hurt things.
Yeah, I agree. And then this one here from Jake. One way to get the forwards to score is to lose all your defensemen to injury. And that does feel like it is the situation, and largely because it is. Vince Dunn does not play tonight after leaving yesterday's game and not returning. RJ Brandon Montour, we now know, is going to be out 4 weeks. This blue line is getting thin. Obviously, they've had Josh Mahura around all season, Hayden Fleury around. Those guys are able to step into the lineup. I still think Josh Mahura is playing fantastic through these last couple of games, and he'll be in the lineup for however long Brandon Montour is out. We still have to wait and really know what the situation is with Vince Dunn, because there's not really any clarity as far as I know yet, unless I missed something.
No, not really. Just that he wasn't going to play tonight. Lambert didn't really say anything more than that.
Yeah, didn't obviously have anything last night after the game. So we'll see what the situation is there. But yes, this blue line is getting very thin. That being said, Riker Evans already was stepping up with Brandon Montour out of the lineup. I feel like he continued to step up with now Vince Dunn also being out of the lineup. I do think Riker Evans is kind of stepping up and filling in some of that void, RJ. But yes, the big group that has to step up for this is the forwards, because you're not going to be getting that same level of scoring that you're getting from the back end, given that was essentially all coming from Vince Dunn and Brandon Montour.
Yeah, I mean, they were making a lot of things happen themselves. And I do wonder, again, with the style of play, I talked about how it just kind of tries to take skill out of it. I wonder if having that mindset of, look, like, we don't have any offensive defensemen now, prolific ones that are just going to go do it themselves anymore. We're going to stay extra focused on the defensive side of things. And it almost clarifies your identity as a team a little bit. I almost think of the Herb Brooks quote from the movie Miracle, gentlemen, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. Maybe that's the mindset a little bit there with the D group and also with the forward group, just having to support the D and all that sort of thing. One thing I do want to point out on the blue line, though, with Montour and Dunn out, I think Riker Evans has really stepped up, especially offensively and especially on the power play. That's been a big difference there. I love what he's doing as a power play quarterback. Finally getting that opportunity that really we thought he might have earlier, just given how good he looked when he first broke into the league. But I thought he's been really impressive there. Does get skated around a little bit on the Kuzmenko goal, but I think still that's one Joey just needs to get the far post. But overall, I think Riker Evans has kind of taken that upon himself that, I need to be the guy to step up in Dunn and Montour's absence.
Yeah, and Kings broadcast lots of kind words for Riker Evans and how
Mhm.
he's been playing as well. Mark here, and I think this is a good question because you had Andrew's comment of winning is fun, but now I'm afraid we're going to win enough to pick 8th in the draft. As much as I hate losing, would really love a top 4 pick here. And then Mark saying to Team Tank, we're getting elite goaltending from both goaltenders. It would be a shame to waste it. And I mean, I do kind of agree with Mark when you not only have Joey Decord kind of playing like Joey Decord, but you also have this resurgence from Philip Grubauer, RJ. Does feel like it's one of those situations where if you could just get healthy and kind of get everybody back together, certainly I think you could probably put together enough of a run to really compete seriously for that playoff spot later on in the year. And then from there, are they winning the Stanley Cup? Of course they're not, but I don't know, or early playoff, not maybe even an upset, but at least close games. I could see that just given you have both of these goaltenders playing this way.
Yeah, I mean, elite goaltending is the number one ingredient to the team of destiny recipe. You have to have it. You look at the common thread with all these teams, and that's what they have. And so that's the number one thing they need. And I think with how weak this Western Conference race is, it could absolutely propel them to an 86-point season, which at this point is probably good enough to make the playoffs. Like, I don't see why that can't happen. Looking at the long term, and if you are on Team Tank, like, I understand that would probably keep you from having a very high draft pick. You look at the teams that finish near the bottom of the league. Bad goaltending or unlucky goaltending is a pretty common thread among that as well. And I mean, yeah, like if this is the path to potentially sneaking into the playoffs, it's also probably the path to being the Calgary Flames of last year
Mhm.
and then this year. That's where it leaves you. So
Of the last like 20 years, like because before Calgary these last couple of years, it was all those years with Jerome McGinley and of course Mika Kiprusoff in net, who was good enough to constantly put them in that borderline playoff situation, right? Just because of how solid he was in net. And then it just led to them ultimately stagnating there and not really ever able to move past that. And, you know, never really rebuilt after that group either. That's kind of what they're kind of facing now for the first time.
yeah, no, it really is. I mean, I'll
I
stop
know.
talking about the Flames because
I know.
I don't want to be too depressing.
I was gonna say, name me a more depressing franchise in the 21st century. I dare you. All right. Yeah, lots of talk about the big swing and everything. Mason Bettman has never been so happy about the loser point as he has been this year. That is probably true.
Working just as designed. Yeah. You can
Mhm.
have even last place teams in the conference near New Year's still feel they're in it. That's what
Yep.
he wants.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's not about the teams feeling that way, RJ. It's about the fan base. Got to focus on the fan base there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's healthy for the league and allows everybody to have jobs, including us. Lindsay,
Oh yeah, really
Cat
helping us.
Yeah, Catton looked good. All those fans in St. Louis that help us out, Catton looked good in his first game back, and I do want to talk about Berkeley Catton in this one. He does return to the lineup. Kind of surprised to see that. I kind of thought maybe we'd just see him on the other side of the Christmas break, just to give him that extra little bit to get healthy. That being said, comes back into the lineup in this one, RJ. I thought he kind of picked right up where he left off earlier, and it's so clear the dynamic creativity and offense that he can bring to this lineup that just nobody else on this team has or can bring at all.
Yeah, didn't miss a step at all. I was really impressed by a few of his plays. Just dynamic in a way that a lot of Kraken players really aren't. My favorite play was the one where he kind of dangled around the defender and it almost had that wraparound goal.
Yep.
Got around the net real quick. I think it was the same net Kuzmenko did score, but on the opposite side. And Copley just gets his skate over to it, but so close to a first career goal that would have been a highlight reel worthy play too. Was really rooting for that one because that'd be a fun way to get your first NHL goal. It's coming. The way he's playing, it really is coming.
Yeah. And as much as we talk about him being a playmaker and his passing and setting up his teammates, I think for me, the thing that's impressed me the most with him at the NHL level, and certainly not something I would have expected to carry over and kind of be the big thing for him offensively in his first year coming from major junior hockey, is his patience with the puck on his stick. he is not trying to rush plays at all right now. And we've seen that from him in the past, right? Preseason games these last couple of years, earlier on in this season when he was getting into the lineup, he was maybe looking to pass that puck kind of right away once he thought he saw something. Right now, he's being so patient with that puck. He's letting it sit on his stick, and he can just move and puck handle with a speed that we've never really seen another Kraken player possess. We've just never seen somebody who can kind of walk their way around the offensive zone with the puck on their stick at a good clip, forcing the defense into tough matchups and tough handoff situations amongst them, and really trying to create space in a different way from just physically moving guys out of the way. He's creating space with his patience with that puck and his ability to just kind of weave his way through a defense, and that's opening things up for his line mates. It's only a matter of time before the assists and obviously the goals for Berkeley Catton start coming. But I think it's one of those things where none of the guys on the Kraken really know what to do with that because they've never had somebody do that.
They're just not finishers. We've talked about this forever, but like that's been one of the Kraken's big problems. They just don't have a whole lot of natural finishers who can kind of work at that level and find that space. I can't help but think if Berkeley Catton just happened to be drafted by a team that, you know, maybe had one bad year or whatever and had like a bona fide star that could play with him. Like, I mean, say, you know, Boston was bad last year or something, you know, put him with like a Pasternak or something, the numbers would be quite impressive, I think. And this is not like, you know, a knock on the Catton or the Kraken or anything. I'm just saying, like, he's got that really high level of how he thinks the game. And eventually the Kraken will get a player who can think that way.
Yeah, and I think they do. Like him with Jared McCann, I think would work fantastic. It's just the problem is they're both playing on the left side. So what opportunity is there for them to play together? But like Jared McCann is that player that Berkeley Catton needs. And in a lot of ways, Berkeley Catton is the player that I think Jared McCann needs to get back to that 40 goal potential that he had year two. Like that player still exists within Jared McCann, as much as the kind of lingering injuries have hampered him through these last two seasons. I genuinely think the Kraken already have a player who can do that with Berkeley Catton in Jared McCann. It's just Berkeley Catton, as long as he's on the wing right now, is going to be on that same side as Jared McCann. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to force one of them onto the other side to try to set stuff up there. I've talked about it before, though. Berkeley Catton loves playing on the right side in the offensive zone. That's kind of where he naturally goes a lot of the times to read the ice. Maybe it is worth trying at some point. Stick them out there with Chandler Stevenson or Shane Wright. Have Berkeley Catton on the right side. Have Jared McCann over there on the left. I do wonder what they could do together.
Yeah, I was about to say, and as Jake's pointing out, too, Catton does like to play that side of the ice anyway. Mm-hmm. Might be worth a try. It's kind of thing, I think, again, you'd only really see if you're focused on development later in the season, if you're not trying to claw your way to a playoff spot, but maybe one day.
Yes. Let's see. I think we talked about the goaltending tandem there. Can you believe that 86-2 score? That's a joke from Butler there, coming over from the Discord. For anybody not catching that, everybody's giving me a hard time in the Discord, if you can believe that, RJ.
I can't believe it. Why would you guys give Dylan a hard time? Give him a harder time. He deserves it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're still too kind to me, if you ask me. Sean, can we give Lindgren some credit for his effort recently? We have no issues talking when it's negative. Yeah, I mean, it feels like he's not getting walked the same way, right? We're not seeing those rough goals against. And the other thing is we're not seeing him kind of be in the situations where he kind of has to take a penalty to get out of it, right? There was a lot of times earlier this season when he was struggling where he would kind of back himself into a corner, and then the only way to get out of it would be to take, a slash, a hook, something like that. He has not done that at all. And what's interesting is it feels almost like he's playing better without Brandon Montour since he's been out of the lineup. And that doesn't make sense. But
at all,
when I'm watching him, does it not feel like he's really elevated his game, knowing, I guess, that he doesn't have Montour on the other side?
I think you're right. And also he's playing a lot more too. I mean, he's gone from kind of the
Mhm.
17, 18 minute range into the 22, 23 minute range these last few games, which makes sense given the Kraken are missing a lot more defensemen. But yeah, I haven't been as scared with him out there on the ice. And so I think he absolutely is worth mentioning. And thank you for bringing him up, because the way that he plays when he is playing well, and I don't even think that it's just like, oh, we're only on him when it's negative or whatever. When a defenseman like that is playing well, it means you never notice him. It
Yeah.
means just nothing is happening. And so it doesn't really jump off the page. But of course, when a defenseman like that does make mistakes, it's very obvious and you notice it. So it's good to always kind of check ourselves on those for the guys that, maybe aren't standing out, but it's because they're playing well.
Yeah. And look, it's one of those things with almost all free agents, but it also feels like defensemen kind of fall into this category more than most. It can take a little while for a free agent signing on the back end to kind of, just get situated, because when you're having to learn a new system like that, because you're coming into a new team, it just it can take a little while to know exactly where, your outlets are, where the other guys are going to be. You got to build chemistry with your D partner, and that takes time. You got to learn the communication that team already has established and let that become second nature for you when you're out there, and what reads you have to make with not only that system and what the coaching staff wants you to do, but with what your D partner's natural inclinations are and what your goaltender's natural inclinations are. There's so many things that have to come together for defensemen when they join a new team. I think that's also part of what we saw with Ryan Lindgren, was just a lot of those things. And I think that's where, for a player who is not the quickest, right? He is not, and I'm not even talking straight line speed. I'm just talking like from an acceleration standpoint. If he's going to be out of position, it is going to be difficult for him to get back into position quickly. I think then it becomes that much more important that he has that communication, that trust with everybody around him, and he understands where he needs to be, so he doesn't find himself in a spot where he needs to get back into a position quickly. And I think that's what's coming along for him in this last month or so, is just all of those things that have to be second nature for a defenseman. He's finally getting to the point where it is becoming second nature for him. And that's just a very normal process for a defenseman joining any team, whether it's via trade or free agency or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, remember how rough Dumoulin looked when the Kraken brought him in at first before he kind of settled in. Remember how rough everybody looked in year one when they were all going through that same process.
Yeah. No, there's so much that goes into it for defensive defensemen, especially because, like, for offensive guys, for Brandon Montour to come in and join a team, one, Brandon Montour is just a special player, so he's got that going for him, which, great if you have it. Not everybody does, but there's like different things that they have to think about, because they're always thinking about trying to push the puck up the ice and kind of take that on. When you're the guy paired with that guy, it's that much more important that you have the communication with the goaltender down, that you have that communication with the puck mover down, with your forwards, and knowing when and what situations they're going to come back and help you out. And especially along the boards and board play, when you need to be chasing into the corner versus when you can pay attention to the net front areas and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we don't talk about it because it's probably the most boring aspect in hockey, right? The defensive defenseman, probably the least fun player archetype to talk about, but it's in part that way because they're having to do so many different things at once. They're the kings of multitasking out there. Sarah, can't stay long, but wanted to say happy holidays to RJ Dillon and everybody here, wishing everybody in the ECH community all the best. Right back at you, Sarah there. All the love for Berkeley Catton throughout from everybody, and I really like that. And yeah, Jake agreeing with kind of playing him over there on the right side. Then from Ryan, really enjoying Freddie's game. Freddie Gaudreau goals in each of the last two games, RJ, and it does feel like he's stepped up in a big way with all the injuries that they have up front. We've talked about it on the back end and with the defensemen that this team is missing, but with the forwards also, having the injuries, that problem that they have, Freddie Gaudreau has really come up in the lineup. We talked about Ben Myers being able to hold down the fort in the bottom six. A lot of nights, Freddie Gaudreau's second most ice time amongst the forward group. And you know what? It does feel like since he's returned and been put in that position, he's making pretty big differences night in, night out.
Yeah, and I remember in training camp too, we talked to him and he said the biggest thing in his game is just versatility. He can play wherever you need him in any kind of spot, in any kind of situation. I think he's showed that a lot this season. When you have a lot of forward injuries, you need guys like that who are versatile, who can play at center or play at wing, who can play really on any of your four lines. And I think Freddie Gaudreau kind of fits that description. And he's doing a lot of the right things, and I think he's getting rewarded, a bit luck wise, but it's because he's going to the right areas and doing the right things. You look at that power play goal against the Ducks, chaotic play. It's a few bounces. I think he even himself said like, yeah, no, it was just a weird one, kind of went off some stuff, but it's because he's standing there net front in the right spot, outnumbering the Ducks PK in that situation. Tonight, bit of a fluky goal, I would say, but you know what? He's throwing the puck on net and he's opportunistic about it. He's using the defenseman as a screen and he's just throwing it on net, which not a lot of Kraken players were doing for a lot of this season. And we've talked about having that shooting mentality. Ever so often, you're going to get rewarded for it. And oh boy, if the Kraken got rewarded for it recently, you look at the Sharks game too, with Lindgren and Riker Evans just throwing pucks on net. You throw pucks on net, good things happen. And so I think, with Gaudreau, he's getting rewarded for doing a lot of the right things, those little things, and also just the high-end skills sometimes. The dangles he can put on a player too, it's really impressive. And it doesn't come out a ton, but when it does, we kind of gasp up in the press box or at home.
Yeah, I mean, he has those shootout hands, right? Like what he can do with the puck, especially in close. For me, and maybe this is going to be a little sacrilegious for Kraken fans, kind of feels like what they needed Yanni Gourde to be a little bit more of at times, in the sense that, similar style player for me, versatile forward, can kind of stick him on the wing, stick him at center, let him go out there and kind of do his thing, is going to be a net front, net side player. That's just naturally where they go. They want to go there for situations like the goal he had yesterday in Anaheim. But I feel like what he brings that Yanni maybe didn't at times is a little bit more of that shooting mentality, but also just the ability to work with his line mates a little bit better, or work off his line mates, right? When Yanni was out there, the line had to work based off what Yanni was going to do. Freddie, it feels like he's very good at kind of, especially when he's on the wing like he is right now, looking at his center and saying, okay, what does my center do well? What does he not do well? And then I'll cover for his deficiencies, and I'm going to put myself in a spot to take advantage of the looks that he's going to want to give me. Right. And it feels like since he's been up in the top six and playing more on the wing, he's able to really utilize that skill set a lot more and make himself available to, Chandler Stevenson when he's playing with him. And I do wonder how much of Stevie's point streak was also because the role that Gaudreau was out there playing with him. Not to take anything away from Chandler Stevenson, but it's one of those things where, when I had this conversation with my mom actually watching this game tonight, so many other teams around the league, because my mom was asking, do the Kraken just change their lines way more than all these other, like everybody else around the league? And the answer is basically yes, right? Outside of the other struggling teams. And I think part of the reason for that is because they've just struggled to find pairings, right? All the coaches we've had have talked about that, finding that pairing of two guys and really letting them connect and letting them build something. And then you figure out that third spot on the line somewhere else. And the Kraken, it just feels like forever have had a really hard time really nailing down what those pairings are going to be for their centers. And Stevie in the last year and a half has certainly been no different. It feels like him and Gaudreau really work off of each other especially well. And I do wonder if that's kind of a pairing that they can build off of, knowing that you have players like a Ben Myers who can fill in that 4C spot and kind of take care of things for you down there and allow you to utilize somebody who has a little bit more of an offensive skill set higher up in your top six.
Yeah, I think it's something that they should look at. It'll be difficult when everyone gets healthy, but I think, it's an option that they have. And as for the Yanni comparison, I just think of Yanni so much as a north-south player, and Freddie Gaudreau is such an east-west player. That's just how I kind of view it simply. But I think you did a better job of describing all that. But I just like, they're so different.
And yet they both end up at the net front, which is, where more guys on the Kraken need to end up. Like watch Yanni tape if you're more like him, watch Freddie tape if you're more like him. But I think the Kraken need to watch tape of both of those guys and put themselves in that situation there. got this one here from Karim. What do you think about Vince Dunn? And so obviously we don't know about the injury situation, RJ, but also we haven't really had an opportunity to talk about Vince Dunn getting injured, the hit that he was seemingly injured on, and then of course the frustration that he showed when he had to leave the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean that's one of the downsides of not doing the post game after every game is you have to wait a little bit, but we can absolutely discuss it here. That's what this is for. Um, as for the hit, I didn't think it was particularly dirty. It looked like just kind of an accidental collision. I mean, you could maybe make an argument for an interference penalty, but you could tell Johnston really eased up and wasn't trying to run through him or make any kind of contact there. I understand a little bit Dunn's frustration because the way he goes down and hits the ice, I was immediately worried about his neck, his head, because he had that previous injury on the Pospisil hit. If he felt something very wrong and knew something, he'd be frustrated. I'm glad he was able to kind of get up and skate around and complain about the lack of a call. I mean, that tells me that he's at least okay to a certain level, hopefully. I didn't love the reaction from Dunn. I don't mind the passion there, but whenever you do something that almost, I think really almost injures potentially a teammate there, the way he threw his stick where Joey Decord was, that could have been a lot worse. And I understand it's heat of the moment kind of thing, but I don't know, that just really rubs me the wrong way when you have a moment like that. And I know it's not on purpose. Of course it's not. I know Joey's like the most forgiving guy, and I'm sure he's already forgiven Dunn if it ever needed to be talked about. But I don't know, that part of the moment I just didn't like.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with athlete frustration. I want my athletes to have emotion, and to me when they get upset like that, for the most part, I'm okay with it because it means that they care. And I want that from them, right? I remember when Cam Newton lost the Super Bowl and everybody was on him for crying and ending his press conference early. No, I want the quarterback who's going to cry because he lost a Super Bowl. It means he cared, right? And I felt that way in hockey on several occasions. I think it's one thing to lose your cool and break your stick, break equipment. I mean, we of course went through this 2 years ago with Trevor Zegras when he broke the camera in the penalty box at Climate Pledge Arena, and the controversy kind of around that. And it's one of those things like, have that emotion, but be aware of the space around you. And I think that that's the situation here with Vince Dunn. We've seen players break their stick over the net, right? Not just on the Kraken, but league wide. When a bad goal gets allowed, right? You get frustrated, you break a stick. But I always remember. I'm trying to remember exactly which goalie it was. RJ.
Thomas Vokoun.
It was Thomas Vokoun, right? Because it was Atlanta, right? Or Florida.
Yeah.
It was Florida. And thank you for knew exactly where I was going. Where player breaks their stick over the post, and it shatters and it goes back and it catches netminder. And the next thing you know, the goalie's bleeding because the player just got frustrated in the moment. And I do think it's one of those things. You can be frustrated, you can have that emotion, but going back to like kindergarten rules, right? You can't hurt others and you can't damage somebody else's property, right? Like those are the lines that generally within society we have, I believe, correctly decided are no-goes, and those are the things that you shouldn't do. And it did feel like Vince Dunn came very close, and to potentially doing that, and you hate to see that aspect of it. Otherwise, I like the emotion. I have no problem with him being upset about things and voicing how upset he is, and having the display, I guess we could call it. As for the hit, yeah, I'm not sure that I'd go as quite as far as Mason here with looking back on that hit. Not to justify it, Dunn stops playing, and that's why he goes down so hard. He just stands up and stops playing in the middle of the play. I think it was like there's an element of he's kind of skating back to the bench there, and he's just kind of coming out. And so yeah, maybe it is that he stops playing, but certainly I think there was an element of it just blindsided him. He did not expect a player to be there. And so when he got hit, he was not braced for it at all. He was not in a balanced position on his skates, and his upper body had to take a lot more of the energy and the force from that hit than normally it would. if it was more of a traditional hockey play. And so then not only does it absorb that force, but then it also leads him to go down in a way where, again, upper body hits the ice first instead of him potentially going down on his knees or falling more onto his butt or something like that, where it's a lot safer to hit the ice. And so it was definitely a situation where he was blindsided and just truly did not know what was going on.
Yeah, and it was accidental, nothing dirty about it. It's important to guys separate that from the Ross Johnston stuff later in the game, which very much was intentional, and he got fined for it. But on that one, it just felt like incidental contact.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mason saying he wasn't in an athletic position. Agreed. Like that was the problem, is that he was not set in any way to run into a guy like Ross Johnson.
Yeah. He had just tried to poke at the puck and then was just kind of looking back the other way, then bam. Right.
Yep. Yeah, it's just it's a tough one. It's a tough one there. We'll do a last call here on questions for everybody. If I missed something earlier in the chat, you want to get it in here, or if you just had something else that you wanted to talk about not just this game or any of the games from this last week or so. Got this from Jason. Side note, I'm home for Christmas with my family, and multiple family members have thought it was me talking. Apparently, I have a similar voice to one of you. Which one?
Interesting.
You can't just dangle that carrot for us, Jason, and then not give us an answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think our voices are different enough. I don't think anyone would mistake one of us for the other.
Right. I wouldn't think so. When it comes to things, Ellie Tolvanen actually second in ice time amongst the forward group tonight on this one. We haven't talked a ton about Tolvanen either, RJ, but he does pick up 2 assists tonight, and I do feel like he's another player that has really stepped up his game here recently.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the Kraken are a team that is just like made of middle six vets, right? And those guys are stepping up for the Kraken in big ways. Like whether it's Tolvanen, whether it's Freddie Gaudreau, who we talked about, they all seem to be playing that extra little bit better with all these other players out. And I think they probably feel the idea of, we kind of have to be the ones to step up. And I remember we got Tolvanen after the San Jose game, and he seemed really sharp. He seemed like he was kind of dissecting how the team was doing really well. And he just, I don't know, he seemed locked in a way that we don't always see every player after every game. And I think because he's gotten him for like availabilities, not in person, but like watching on the Dropbox at least 2 or 3 times recently. Because it seems like he has a lot to say about how the team's playing right now.
Yeah, no, it does. It feels like the most talkative he's kind of ever been, right? And it is one of those where I also feel like, to an extent, it's just that line is really clicking, right? And it feels like they're all kind of finding their spot. And I do wonder how much of it is in so many lineup situations for this team, right? The many variations that we've seen from them. I've had Tolvanen on one side or the other. It doesn't really seem to matter, but it's like, okay, your job is to be the primary forechecker. You're going to go in and try to be the guy that's creating space, using your physicality, go win those puck battles. Somebody's going to dump it in, Stevie's going to dump it in, say. Tolvanen's job is to go and get it. With Freddie Gaudreau on this line, it feels like Gaudreau has taken on a little bit more of that responsibility, and we're able to see a more skill game based Ellie Tolvanen at times. And it's not every situation, but it's more there. And it kind of reminds me a little bit. And I guess, you talked about this with the East-West play of Freddie Gaudreau. I wonder if it's just he benefits from having an East-West player, because it kind of reminds me back of the days when the Yanni Gord, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Ellie Tolvanen line was clicking and what they were able to do. I do wonder how much of this is just him having somebody else out there who can kind of do some of the dirty work to allow him to kind of, flex his skill game, and then also playing with somebody who's going to be a little bit more East-West, have a little bit more of like a European profile to them. And Freddie Gaudreau, if that just unlocks something for him.
I mean, makes sense to me. And I mean, Tolvanen is just such a well-rounded player. He can do anything that you want. I mean, on the podcast, we were asked about who would be the most likely guy they'd bring back. Certainly if Lambert's coming back as coach, I could see somebody like Tolvanen, because he can just do everything in a way that some of the other UFAs can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sounds like it's my voice. So, probably lucked out there, Jason.
You see the later one from Jason about his mom?
Yeah, my mom's really confused about the fact that you're talking about the voice situation. We won't hang on it too long there. Got this question here. What do you think of the next game against the Flyers, RJ? Flyers team that's doing pretty well this season. Like everything's kind of coming together. They've got their 20 games in, right? And then with the new coach and everything that Rick Tockett's doing there, and things are really starting to click in Philadelphia. They're all the way up to second in the Metropolitan Division. They're scoring a lot of goals, 111 so far this season. Trevor Zegras is really coming into his own. They're starting to get their power play going. I know Tockett's excited about that. It's going to be a surprisingly tough game, I think, when the Kraken have to come out of a break. So they're going to lose potentially some of the momentum that they're gaining on this California trip, and they have to face what is a surprisingly good Philadelphia Flyers team.
Yeah, I can't really believe it, but I guess Rick Tockett's got that team playing well. They beat the Kraken pretty convincingly back in October, so I don't like the matchup there, just given how the two teams face each other. And I guess if Philly can keep their ways of finishing, look, I think the Kraken tend to not play very well after breaks like this. At least historically they haven't.
Yeah.
And so if they come out slow, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like the Flyers are one of those teams that actually could make them pay for it. Because that's one thing that we've seen pretty consistently over the last 3 games over this winning streak, is that the Kraken haven't had the best starts to these games, but they've gotten out of the first period, usually 0-0, and they haven't had to pay for it. I feel like Philly is one of those teams that could pounce on them early, so they're going to have to be aware of that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I will say with them coming out of breaks and not playing well traditionally, and of course there's going to be another break later on this year with the Olympic break, a long one. They've also never had a coach that's kept them so engaged the way that Lane Lambert has. And so if there is, you're looking for a reason why they could potentially still perform well and carry some momentum forward through the break and into that game against the Flyers, it's because Lane Lambert does seem to have more of a magical touch when it comes to just kind of keeping this group ready to play at any given time.
I appreciate your positivity, but counterpoint, December 4th at Edmonton Oilers.
All right, that's fair. It's fair. That was a watch party curse, though, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, no watch party for the Philly game.
And then we'll end it on this real quick from Jake. Change of scenery trade to bring in Brad Lambert from Winnipeg. I know he hasn't clicked there, but maybe a change gets him going. I think that a change would certainly do him well at this point. That being said, I don't know that really kind of going anywhere is going to kind of get him right in the short term. And so I don't think the Kraken should really be looking at that. And I also question about things long term. I think he's one of those players that plays a very skill-based game, but isn't quite good enough to be a top 6 forward in the National Hockey League. And until he rounds out the rest of his game and is willing to put in that work as more of a bottom 6 forward, I just don't know that he's going to be able to find a fit in Winnipeg, Seattle, or anywhere.
Yeah, and I just don't think this is the fit for him either. I mean, I know he is the head coach's nephew. I don't think that's really going to help him, though. They as Lane said, they aren't too close really. And look, the Kraken are already having trouble finding spots for their own young forwards who they're trying to develop. Yanni Newman was a healthy scratch tonight, even with all their injuries. You don't need another one who's going to just be in the press box.
Yeah, definitely. But I do agree he would benefit from a trade somewhere, I'm sure. That's going to do it for this post-game live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Happy holidays to everybody over there at the hall. That's yeah, I mean, Kraken, they did it, right? They broke all the curses, 3-game win streak, crushed it here in California. You just can't ask for more than that.
No, you can't. And hopefully it gives everyone a really good feeling going into this holiday break. So, happy holidays to all of you. I know we're going to enjoy the couple days, maybe not thinking about hockey before getting right back at it and seeing if the Kraken can keep this winning streak going.
Definitely. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Thanks to all who gave the super chats, and we will see you all next time.